Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Week 8 recap show. Nicole, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I just saw a lot of rainbows and psychedelic stuff and shirts, so I'm really excited.
You just made me see a lot of stars and rainbows and psychedelic. Nicole was not, spoiler alert, Nicole was not in front of the camera 3 seconds ago.
I had a tiny issue with, a not charged device, but we are now plugged in. We are ready to go. Life is good.
We appreciate the support. We want to say hello to everybody wherever you guys are watching. If you're watching on Twitch, don't forget to follow us there. YouTube, give a thumbs up and a like and subscribe. Facebook, make sure you're following that page. If you're listening to this in the future on your favorite podcast provider, give us a nice rating and review. And of course, if you are watching in the TV Co app, click the blue follow button so you're alerted all the times that we go live. We can see all the chats in all of the places, so go ahead and leave your comments in them. And you can also share the show for you guys watching in TV Co right now. We see all of you. And lastly, you can tweet questions with hashtag TV Co Live if you would like to as well. Nicole, are you excited that we're live everywhere?
I am super excited. This is incredible. I love it.
I love it as well. Well, you know what I love more than being live everywhere, Nicole?
What's that, Eric?
Our guest. I almost want to steal the intro from you, but I would not do it. I'm sure you have one planned. So, Nicole, take it away.
Yes. Okay. My friends, this is somebody who I had the pleasure of meeting during Armchair All-Stars last week, a couple weeks ago, and somebody who I adore. For those of you that watched All Stars, I honestly thought the Jody pillow was a Jody pillow, and then I found out it was a Jess and Cody pillow. But that's another story for another day. For right now, we introduce the lovely, the incredible, the woman with so many amazing insights, Jody.
Yay! Hi, Jody.
Hi.
How are you?
Other than being in the middle of an earthquake swarm, I'm great.
I know. I'm just going to spill everybody's pre-show tea today and say when Jody connected, she's like, I'm doing great, just have an earthquake. So we're like, oh, okay. We don't know about that here.
We haven't had a swarm in maybe 8 years that I'm aware of. And that's just like earthquake. And then a few minutes go by and then an earthquake. And so they've been pretty jolting. They will probably happen again, but I'm dedicated to you guys.
Okay.
The ceiling may fall in on me, but I will still be connected.
No, don't say that, Jody. That's frightening. Like, I know.
Horrifying.
I know because you told us that you grew up in New York. So then I'm assuming that look at how I'm making this be a Hello Friends podcast. But I'm curious, what was it like for you then moving to California and being in earthquakes, I'm assuming, often-ish?
Well, I mean, I lived in New York until I was 9, and then I grew up in Colorado, and then I moved back when I was after college, and I lived in New York City and Brooklyn for 5 years, and then I moved to Los Angeles and lived there for 13 years, and now I live in the low desert. And yeah, honestly, they take a minute to get used to, but then they're not very regular, or it's just a little one where you're like, oh, whatever. But today they were bigger. Like stuff fell, a few things, not much. But I was in the door jam, like, okay, what's going on? You know, my dog's paranoid and petrified, so not fun.
When you live in California, is that something you like to keep in mind when you're decorating? Like, don't put a glass vase on like an armoire.
They just, knock on wood, they just don't happen often enough that, I mean, I think about it, but I don't even make any real changes in my decorative accoutrement.
I don't know. You don't have to say this if you don't answer this if you don't want to. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to, Jody. But are you close to the Big Brother house or not really?
I am 3 hours and 20 minutes from the Big Brother house.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 hours, maybe 3 hours and 7 minutes. How about that? Yeah, that's more.
I was really hoping a light would have shook loose and injured Christmas. No, you don't wish personal injury on people. But
Yeah,
really,
they don't
I
feel.
I thought we were going to send Jody on a wall yelling mission.
I thought
No.
you were gonna too. I mean, I know where it is. I can find the wall for us. I don't know what wall you yell over, but
I am.
It's a very specific wall. You got to do it right.
Yeah.
I used to only live about maybe 15 minutes from there. So
Wow. That's
Really? Let me ask you this, because this is a hot topic this season. And yes, for you guys, you can put your questions in the TV chat or Facebook or Twitch or YouTube. We're seeing them all. But just before we get into things that happened on this episode, since you brought it up, Jody, I'd love you to weigh in on a hot topic this season. What are your thoughts on wall yellers?
I literally am in two minds, because in some ways I'm like, yeah, stick it to whoever, if it's somebody I want it stuck to. And in other ways, if it was somebody that I liked, I would be like, oh no, that's not good. Yeah. So overall, though, I feel like it sort of taints the game. That's why they're in the house. They're supposed to be cut off from everything. So it's sort of not, it's like outside cheating, Mm-hmm. So overall, I would say I would be not for it, but sometimes it would be entertaining.
Right.
I feel the same way. I feel like it kind of ruins the integrity. And on that note, similar with the season, allegedly, what are your thoughts on like pre-gaming?
See, that's terrible. I mean, I guess, yeah, it would happen, but I think Big Brother could have done a better job of, maybe surprising people, like making, I don't even know, but or just trying to you guys know, you sign, or at least Nicole, you sign like these giant things, these contracts about what you can and can't say. Like maybe they could scare them a little bit more so that
I was so scared. I tell anybody I signed that NDA and I'm like, mum's the word.
Yeah. Then you realize they don't care. I mean, they really don't. I mean,
I wish somebody would have told her. No,
it's literally Big Brother, like the Big Brother. Like you feel like they're watching you. Yeah. Like you don't ruin anything, and it stays with you. Even for me, I wasn't even in the house that long. It stays with you for a long time. You're like, what if I say the wrong thing on Twitter? And
I feel like it depends on like your personality and everything. I feel like my luck, if I told somebody, I'd be kicked off the show.
Yeah, if they like you could do anything. They really like you,
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I don't hope I won't get in trouble. Oh, I tried to convince Nicole so hard she would not have any part of it. I was like, just call around, just ask someone, that's cheating.
See, I like that. See, I knew I liked Nicole.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jody. I played with integrity.
Yes.
Gosh, damn it got me out second. But still.
Yeah, that's the problem with Big Brother. Integrity gets you, out the door, but backstabbing doesn't.
But I can sleep at nighttime. That's how that's how I balance it.
And again, I could have given you 500,000 reasons to help you sleep. So, you can buy therapy. But do you know what my idea is, Jody? What I think they should really do? But see, I agree with you. I think they don't care. But let's pretend they cared. Here is what I think they should do on finale. Because every single person left in that game, there is multiple clips of them admitting to pre-gaming. Every single one. So whoever wins, I think Julie should hand them the check and then literally go, oh, but wait, before we end, here's this contract that you signed where you agreed to not pregame. Here's the clip of you saying you pregamed. We're going to take that check right back. Future players, I suggest you don't pregame. Good night, everyone.
Oh, and then they split the money.
Better is if Zingbot did it. And
yes.
He came out, yes, you don't get the money, Zing.
Yep. Oh, that would be the best.
And then, fourth place winner, David wins,
Oh, I think David has a really good chance of winning, actually.
I too. My prediction is he's going to magically come in second. That's my prediction.
That's how I feel. Like he's going to make it to those final two chairs. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think, well, but then I guess I'm discounting the jury being made up a lot of committee members. My thought is if David can make it to final two, I think Devon, being the first juror, is going to really plead a case for David. Well, I think she would have done it for Kevin as well, week after week after week. But if the majority of the voters are going to be committee members, they're going to probably want a committee person.
Though, they don't like him. I think they just
that's
stick
true.
to it. David in Memphis, David wins.
Yep. And when you think Ian's in jury, Davon's in jury,
True.
Kevin will be in jury, Enzo's not really a committee member.
Yeah.
Certain members are going to be butthurt. If Christmas gets sent home, I could see her being a little bitter toward her alliance.
No presents under the tree.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's going to 100% be a bitter jury. Now, originally, I said I did not think it would, but yeah, I think it will 100%.
Jody, I want to ask, because Lefty in the chat is asking you, Jody, what do you think about David taking the money while on the block?
You know, we talked about this on my TV co-show. Okay, so first I want to start off with, I like David. I really do. I think he's probably a good person. Maybe it's because we both got kicked off very early, but he's like awkward. And some of his decision-making skills, I'm like, what are you doing? So from like not pleading his case to Davon, like you would have had to drag me out of that house. I would have been like, Davon, I did not do that vote. I said that stupid crap about the power. I lied. It backfired. You guys all knew. This I did not do. I swear on my grandfather, my mother, like whatever you want. Like he should have been pleading with her, and she would have believed him if he pushed it, but he didn't. So he does a lot of things where they're like, "Hey, David, what are you doing?" He's like, "Nothing," and I'm like, "That's weird." Dude, that's weird.
He's a little socially awkward.
Yeah. So I think as far as him taking the money, it's just one other thing that he did. But I mean, you know, sometimes when money is on the table and he pretty much knows, at least I think as far as he sees, the odds and the deck is stacked against him. So he's like, well, may as well take this money because I'm getting out of here anyway. So I never fault people for that. I really don't. Like when you're like right there and you have an opportunity to get that money, it's very different than when you're at home in your living room going, you shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Oh.
And especially too when you don't know someone's like home situation, financial situation. Like we don't know that. Yeah. I mean, I would, $10,000 would help me. So I feel as though, if he's in that moment, oh my gosh, this money could help me. I'm outnumbered anyway. Might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After taxes, you're like, okay, $7,200 is still a lot of money.
Yeah, that is. And I mean, David, we didn't really see it on Sunday night's episode, but David was getting the blame for taking the money in the HOH competition from everybody. Right there is why I thought David should, tonight we saw in the POV competition, David taking the money, and his logic being everyone was at, their spots except for Cody. He couldn't find the correct shirt. He thought to himself, my options are, and he was holding the $10,000 shirt. Yeah. Do I run up there and at least get $10,000, or do I let Cody get there before me and I lose POV and lose the chance at $10,000?
That's very valid.
I think it was very smart for David to go for the money based on the fact that he didn't have the correct shirt to bring back to OTEV for the round.
And now maybe, I don't know, have they shown anything on the live feeds where it's a discussion? Because I keep hearing that Kevin is going because Cody, it's kind of a personal thing. But does he know David, does he know he isn't going? Or does he suspect?
He knew he was not going. I mean, he was being told he was not going when he took the money. So, yes.
But and Sam knows him from BB, your good friend Sam from last season, who's on my show. He said that David's really good at reading people. So I think he does get a bad edit. And if that's the case, then he can kind of read the room and go, okay, I'm safe. Give me that money.
Yeah. I think he is extremely, extremely intuitive. And especially having lived with him twice, I see it. And maybe it is more so the edit. That's why we don't see it as much. But I think that's very much it too. I think he senses the vibe, like, okay, I can do this right now and still be okay.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault David at all for going for the money, number one. And I see Angie in the TV chat says he winked at David. He winked at Tyler privately and said, "I'm still here," and with $10,000. So David knows what he's doing.
He knows. He knows he's gonna win the whole thing.
And I could see David and Tyler if they're like down to like their last few, I don't know who would have to be left because they already had a relationship early on.
Yeah.
And Tyler's really, really smart. I'm a big fan of Tyler. I think that they could both kind of work against someone if Tyler and David and say Memphis are left, you know? So
I agree with that. Like,
Christmas.
despite being in the committee, I could see Tyler being like, nah, Memphis, I'm taking David.
Yeah.
100%.
I guess we'll see.
And to answer your question, Jody, so on the feeds, yes, what we saw since Sunday night's episode and Kevin telling Cody the world doesn't revolve around you, then basically Cody went on to retell that story to anyone that would listen of how horrible Kevin is. Kevin just, he don't care no more. He's not playing. He knew it was win POV or go home. He really didn't have much of, Kevin's ship is sinking. However, had he not said that to Cody, there was the discussions where Cody did admit, I would prefer David to go home. Memphis wants David to go home on the feeds. Danny wants David to go home on the feeds. But Cody is like, no, he's going around saying all of these, he's just trashing me personally. For Cody, he's playing personal this week. He wants...
surprised by that, to be honest with you, because let's see, I've met a lot of Big Brother players. I've never met Cody, but he always seems very sort of even keel, pleasant. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he seems, between he and Pauly, pleasant. And I thought he was secure enough to just be like, whatever, this guy, like Kevin, he doesn't have anybody. That's nice. He's pissed that I put him up. So, oh well. And then focus on his game. I'm really like, Kevin got to him. He pushed a nerve, and that's pretty rough because Cody is, in my opinion, pretty self-assured, pretty confident. So Kevin pushed something with him for him to just go against his alliance.
I agree with that 100%. Even like living with him, I viewed him the same way, very even-tempered, like calm, cool, collected, like don't let anything bother him, just play the game. And I remember my conversation with him on the hammock when he just started spitfire, like Janelle's coming after me. I know she said about me. She's saying personal things about me. And I was like, oh wow, like you get very fired up when you think someone's like against you, the person. And he was very like laser focused on that. And I was kind of shocked that was like a component of his personality. Like I wasn't expecting that. And he was very, Janelle's talking about me. This is a problem. I'm going to blow her shit up. And I was like, whoa, okay.
That's interesting because that is not something they show in his edit at all. Not past seasons. Not this one.
What do you think? What do you think of his edit, Jody? How, especially this episode, we saw a lot of like, do. Oh, Cody, you're so dopey, but silly, but cute. Like, you don't know that a Texan is a person. You're so dumb. Like, what do you think of that? I don't know.
That's exactly what they're doing. Like, first he was like, on his first season, he was just like the hot, nice guy. And now they brought him back. And, Big Brother likes to knock people down. They like to build them up and then knock them down. In the DR, they have you say things that are like, well, why did he say that? Or whatever. And I think this is them doing that. This is them kind of leveling him out like, oh, he's not just cute, he's stupid. And so that's what they're going to push on him, And he even said, which I'm sure you guys saw, the thing that's going around from the live feeds, that he plays to be stupid because you get more TV time. And if you get more TV time, you get more followers. And if you get more followers, you get more money. And that's what he said. And so people are like, wow, okay. So, and then other people are saying you are stupid and you're saying you're playing it up, but I don't know which, but so yeah.
He is not stupid. I have met Cody several times in real life. He is not stupid.
I think
As someone who is now, I was thinking about it from the money aspect, so this was smart. I should have used this, but let's put it this way. I learned a long time ago that it is funny to be dumb about things. Like, people really believe I don't understand the reproductive system, or like I can do it and be like, well, but I really do have a bad memory. That is the only part where I do fault in a lot of things. But I've learned you can just, be funny by not knowing about things and letting people explain them to you. It's also my favorite way to troll Nicole.
This is
Well,
It is. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Nicole.
I was going to say, another thing we saw in this episode was Christmas's reaction to not being picked to play in the veto.
Yes.
And she was very vocal that she was angry, kind of got up from the couches and said something on the lines of, what was it? If I'm a replacement, if I'm not going to be a replacement nom, just don't talk to me till Thursday, and walked away. It was something along the lines of
she said, call me if I'm a replacement nom. Otherwise, don't call me till Thursday. Then went into the key room, laid down on the bed, and put a handkerchief over her face.
Oh, well, she's very temperamental. I mean, we know the whole thing with her history and running a dude over or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like she treats the committee like La Cosa Nostra, us, my fellow New Yorkers, a mafiosi group, right?
Yes.
And I'm loyal to the committee. And when she feels for 1 second that everybody else isn't as loyal to her as she is to the committee, she's like a baby. And I think that's what happened tonight.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting about it, I was telling my family, it's very telling who's scared of her and who's not. Because David didn't follow her, Kevin didn't follow her, Danny and Nicole, being fellow women, did not follow her. We had Cody go in the room and hug her, Tyler go in the room and hug her, and Memphis go in the room and hug her. And I think it's very telling that the 3 men in that alliance were like, oh God, we have to quiet this bear so she doesn't come after us. They were like, oh, Christmas, it's okay, we love you, hugs. She had to be coddled. And it's like, why are you upset?
You're good. Don't draw attention to yourself. As we know, that's a bad thing.
Another common theme that we saw on tonight's episode, or in general, I feel like over this week and for a while now, is Enzo saying things like, it's ridiculous that David and Kevin keep getting put up, and if I win the POV, I'm going to use it because they shouldn't have to go home again. And all of these things that, well, here, I'm going to ask it from Angie. She says, does Jody think that Enzo threw Oteb, so he made it to the final round, Jody, and then messed up, and Cody won after saying the whole time, I'm going to win this and pull Kevin down. Okay, so does Jody think Enzo threw Oteb so he didn't have to make a big move like he told us he would do in his DRs?
If my memory serves me, I feel like he threw competitions in his first season. Do you guys remember?
Yes, he did.
So I know that's a thing, one of his bag of tricks. I could see him doing that because he likes to be liked.
Yes.
And he likes to just stay liked. And if he talks a big game with his like, yo, that's it. That's what I'm saying. That's it.
That's what it is.
And then he'll say, that's it. And then go right back on it. And so I wouldn't be surprised. And if we find out, later tonight on the feeds or whatever, tomorrow's episode, that that's the case. Because I think that would be very him to be like, I did say all that stuff, but I'm safe, so I'm keeping out of it. I think it's possible.
I always argue as well, Jody, that throwing a comp is more of a conscious thing, but I do believe there's a subconscious, I don't need this. So I feel like when your butt's on the line or your ally's butt is on the line, you have adrenaline, you are both. That's why we often see people who are on the block win stuff. I do think sometimes it's just that subconscious, I don't need this. I don't need to cause waves. That not consciously makes you throw it, but it kind of just like your body doesn't have adrenaline, and you're just kind of like, if I find it, I find it. If I don't, oh well, Cody can win. So I would say even if he didn't throw it, there was that subconscious feeling of like, I'm safe. What the hell do I care? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that, and that could definitely be the case with Enzo.
That is a horrible point, Nicole.
No, it's not.
Because
I always say there's a difference between consciously throwing something and subconsciously being like, I'm not in danger. No. I don't have that adrenaline push.
I agree with you. In general, across the board, your statement, 100%, I back you up in your statement. But when it comes to Enzo, every other scene this episode was Enzo in the DR going, I gotta win this. I gotta pull David down. This is not right. David and Kevin, 5th week in a row. No, I'm gonna stop it. And every...
Do you really think he means...
No,
what does he have to gain from any of that? Nothing. Yeah. He's trying to look good for TV.
Yeah,
I think he might mean it as a fan and as a viewer of the game, but deep down as a player, he's I don't care if they go type of thing.
Or he wants to win America's favorite player, because all of a sudden, every time, because David's defense to people, when people bring up David winning the money, which I think is amazing, David has been saying any prizes that I win in this game, so like any cash, not his stipend, that I'm guessing they get, but any prizes he wins, he is donating 100% of the money to Black Lives Matters causes. He has said it.
Said any of the prize money?
Any of the what?
David said this? Any of his prize money? 100%? Wow.
He said prizes that he wins in the game. So he's not saying his stipend, and I don't know if that includes if he wins the $500,000. But in other words, he said 100% of this $10,000. And he said it even before he won the $10,000. He said any prizes, any things he wins.
Well, I know what the catch is. He's Black. His life matters, so 100% going in his pocket.
That is true. I did not think of that. He's like, and thank you.
Thank you.
My causes. Write that check, Julie. So,
right. He's
wow. I mean, really and truly, if he's doing that, great for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I would want to keep the money myself. You know, maybe donate a small portion to a charity, but, you know, girl's got to pay her bills.
Amen.
I mean... Yeah, I think that my point was, I think that's why Enzo, because every time David says that, Enzo will literally start a monologue about like, my kids, single dad, my money's going to my kids. They have a college fund. I think David saying that in this past week has woken something up in Enzo and made him go, America's favorite player. What am I doing?
He just wants to look like a good guy too. Like, oh my gosh, David's giving a charity. I have kids. I'm a single dad.
Right.
I remember, in my short stint in the house, Enzo's like, I don't want to say joke because it's not a joke, but his thing was, I love all colors, races, genders, sexualities, like everything he would say, he would do like a PSA afterwards, and he would talk about like all the causes. So he'd be like, he would make a joke and then be like, I love all religions, all colors, all sexuality. Like every time he said something, that was like the running, not joke, but the running joke in the house, that he would always follow everything up with that disclaimer.
You know why he said that, right? Because he got burned from the last time he was there. I don't even remember specifics, but that's what happens when you get out in the world and people hold you to the fire for every single thing you said. It's me. That happened to me, and I was in there for 5 seconds. So I know he was like, oh crap, when I'm in the house, I need to make sure that I don't come off like this guy who thinks this or that, whatever the thing is that they said. So I think that's where his PSA came from.
Makes sense.
I will say Enzo's first go round, he did say a lot of homophobic things. However, I will then also say I have also met Enzo several times in person, and he's
Jody.
Oh, right now, or
gosh, oh my gosh, I can't watch this. Are you in a safe location?
That's usually it. Like, I mean, it's usually like that short or a little bit longer. So that I mean, stopped. This is California.
Now, I am a believer of signs. Does this mean that since that happened during Enzo, that he will be earth shaken out of the house this week?
Shaking the house up and evicting some people.
Oh, okay. Okay, it could
Here's
be.
the thing. I'm going to be honest with both of you. Assuming Kevin is leaving,
Yes.
I need to root for people. And right now I have David. So now I have David and Enzo. So that's where my brain has extended to. So it's David, Enzo. Then we go into like Tyler. Then Danny. Then it's really wonky. Then it's probably like
a chair, a couch.
Yeah. A chair, a couch, the refrigerator, then Nicole, then the storage room, then
dust bunnies,
and then all ties is like the Cody Christmas Memphis conglomerate, So
yeah, that's rough. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that my point before was I don't think, and because I see some people saying in chat, none of us are, I don't think any of us are, I'll speak for me, none of us are saying that we don't think Enzo's a good person. My point was Enzo's always been great to me and kind to me in person. I just think he's playing the game. Part of the game is play America, and I think that's what he's doing. Go ahead. What do you guys want to say?
No, I was just going to say, I personally don't think he's like, let me get America's favorite player. I think it's more that he's been burnt, and with cancel culture, and you say one thing and it's just blown up. So I think he's just trying to cover his bases so he can say, hey, I was trying to get these guys off. I love everybody. It's not racist because, there's rumors that production kind of hints to how things may look to the house guests. So I think he's just trying to be careful.
What really interests me is like obviously this whole culture outside of the house and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But I think this goes back to what we were saying earlier, Jody. Like it shocks me that culture almost exists with the players in the house. Like I thought, this is All-Stars. People have played this before. They know how to separate game from personal. They're not going to get butthurt. And I think we've seen, and we will continue to see, a lot of petty, a lot of bitterness, a lot of like being butthurt. Like I think we were just talking about Cody earlier. I think we're seeing that a lot, like people kind of viewing each other a certain way based on game moves. And I thought we wouldn't really see that with it being an All-Star season, but
yeah, and that would even go back to the whole Davon and Bailey and Christmas thing, how this was this was game. And to me, that was all game. Like there's no such thing unless you literally are like, by the way, my mom has cancer. Please don't bring this up. Like that would be different. But if you're like, hey, my number 2 person is this person, that is game.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Absolutely. So. I agree.
I also have to give out, because I got so distracted in the beginning of the show, I have to give a shout out to Lost and Can Cruise, because at the beginning of the show, when we were talking about the earthquakes, Jody, he said, oh, Jody, she's coming she's coming for the podcast and she's staying through an earthquake endurance comp. And,
yes.
And now Lost just said, congratulations, Jody, you just won the earthquake endurance comp.
Yay!
You survived.
Like an award or something?
I panicked the most of the 3 of us. I'm not even there, Jody. I was like, oh God.
Welcome to
so that's good.
Yes.
Oh God.
Life with Nicole. You all feel my pain.
Hey, it's the Nicole A experience.
Now, that's what I was going to ask first.
Yeah.
I guess we should ask Jody. So you have all the information. We have Jody. It was obviously the POV shirts. They had to go. Otev was this psychedelic lizard who did nothing scary. Clearly, I mean, I knew this was happening. I tried to hint it to people on the show yesterday. I knew there was going to be no liquids involved in this comp. So there was no squirting or pools or water, but they had to find the shirts and it had people's names. And then Nicole's name said the Nicole A Experience.
Yes.
And then it was on a shirt with Keisha's name, and then it said Keisha Nana.
It's like Keisha Nana. and the Nicole A experience. I was just happy because, listen, the Jimi Hendrix experience, Jimi Hendrix opened for the Monkees. Like, I was like, yes, and I want a shirt with Keisha. What?
So is that what we're thinking? Is that what it was? Because it was supposed to be like psychedelics, like 70s type. That's where we were going with that?
I'm guessing maybe there's some song that has na-na in it. That's besides na-na-na-na. That's not psychedelic. So...
Hey. Isn't that like 70s? No?
Goodbye, Keisha. No, in Big Brother, they would do that. Like, you're like, haha, goodbye. So, like,
a later shirt was like the Someone Band, and like, it's like the Ringo Starr Band.
Right.
I mean, so like all like 60s, 70s, like band names and song names. I thought it was really, really awesome. Someone in chat is saying Sha-Na-Na. Is that a song? Is that a group? Yeah, the Sha-Na-Na Band.
And they were from the 80s and the late 70s. Maybe that was it. That is probably a good chat person.
Thank you.
Keisha na na. That's probably exactly what it is.
Oh,
smart. Yes, Keisha na na. Yes, awesome.
And Nicole A experience.
I like that. That needs to be the next name of your podcast, your future podcast.
Like when I go on like a dating app or a dating show or I meet somebody, I'm gonna say this is the Nicole A experience.
Believe me, they were not wrong calling it an experience, but I was just wondering what your take on it was. And I don't know what it says about me, but all I could think of was Brady Bunch. You know, when like the Brady Bunch used to be like sha-na-na-na-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na, and they would all be like in the bus. That's where I went with it.
Okay.
I'm so glad you know about the Brady Bunch.
Oh no!
No.
Okay, wait, Jody, say
there we go.
Say what you said one more time. You're so glad about the Brady Bunch.
Yes, I'm so glad you know about it because I'm sure there's little kids that are like 9, 10 that are like, "What's the Brady Bunch?" And I'm like,
I know the Brady Bunch, but I'm more of a Partridge Family gal.
I loved the Partridge Family.
Yes.
Danny Bonaducci.
Yes, David Cassidy. Oof.
I wanted that life. Your family's on a bus and you're traveling and singing. Who didn't want to live that?
That's what
For
I
you
need.
younger people, it was a show on TV.
That's what I'm doing, guys. I'm buying a bus. It's going to be called the Nicole A Experience, and I tour the
bus.
Hey, you can always stay here. You can park your bus right in front of my yard when you get to California.
Thank you, Jody.
Absolutely.
I love it, and I have to say, anybody that does not know about the Brady Bunch, you need to go and look. The feeds are probably on Stars, so I'm sure they're on YouTube.
Educate yourself.
Go watch some Brady Bunch, people.
We can do it right now. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh yeah, we could. We need people above us and below us.
So a Real House when I lived in LA. It was a disappointment. I'm like, oh, different.
Food Network bought it. I feel like the Food Network bought the house, and now they actually do cooking shows in the house, I feel like.
They should like fix it up to make it look exactly the same on the inside.
They did.
Oh, that's fun.
Wait, and they do cooking shows in it?
Oh, I got it. I'm probably so wrong on this, but I think what it is was Home and Garden Television brought the house, then like the Home and Garden People shows redid it to make it look like the Brady Bunch house, and then now the cooking shows are in there cooking in it. I think that's what happened, but yeah.
Wait, this is actually what I wanted to ask you guys. You're talking about houses and it brought it up. I thought it was kind of rude when Christmas said to Kevin, "You should be on the murals in this house." And Kevin's like, "What do you mean?" And what was it she said? Like,
for being a block star.
Oh, gee, thanks.
If I was Kevin, I'd be like, "Excuse me, like you need to back up." She's so rude.
I wouldn't have liked that. Oh,
here's why people keep telling me, Eric, you have to play Big Brother. Here's why I could not play Big Brother. If Christmas said that to me, and she's like, "You should be on the wall as a block star," I would go, "And you should be behind bars."
I was rewatching. Somebody posted the fight between Reagan and Rachel in the backyard, which is classic Big Brother. If you haven't seen it, Google it, because she stands there and just takes it, which I'm like, it's almost bizarre. She's just like, what? Deer in the headlights. And he just goes at her. And I'm like, that's the Big Brother I miss.
I always remember you're as real as the pimples on your chin. Like, I always remember, like, something like that.
It's just like, wow, like, say something back to these people. Stand up for yourself, especially Kevin, because he's going to go home and be like, wow, you can lose, but it's the sad sack. Like, I genuinely have empathy for him. I have empathy for people. I don't just automatically assume, oh yeah, loser, like a lot of people on Twitter. It's like, he's a person who's been through a lot. I don't know his story, but it's like he's decided there's no hope from the minute he walked in that door. And that's how people perceive him. I hope he goes home and goes, wow, I need to learn to like have love for myself, you know, like have some kind of metamorphosis, because he's talented. He's funny. He has a chance to win comps. He has one. Like, he could be in there. It's just that he doesn't think that he can. And
that's the thing too. Like, you know, he's spoken previously about, like, you know, being in the LGBT community and, you know, his family having, like, what's the word for it? Like, ostracized him because of their religion.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible.
And tonight he talked about, in regard to, like, the communities, he's half black, half Japanese, right?
Japanese, yeah.
So he explained that he, like, is not black enough for the black community, so he doesn't really know where he fits. So any group he interacts with, he's viewed as like an other. And he said walking into that house, by everybody, it was like Kevin the other. And that really broke my heart to, like, hear and watch. And, like, I don't know, like, it's those moments where I was literally in my living room crying and my family had to console me, because I'm just like, like, if I was there, like, he could talk to me, I could hug him, like, he's like, everywhere I go, I'm an other. And I was like, Kevin, you're not an other in my heart. Like, so, like, it's tough to watch, especially when you live with someone, you know?
Yeah, he needs to find a way to work on that, because I experienced the same thing. Like, I'm black. I'm like, I found out from Ancestry.com that I'm like 20% Irish and Scottish and Norwegian, believe it or not, all these other things. Didn't know that, but mostly like 80% West African. But I grew up around mostly white people, Colorado. And then they would be like, oh, well, you're not us. And then when I was around black people, it was like, well, you sound like a white person and you don't talk like us. And so I understand what it's like to be like, wow, I don't fit in anywhere. And then people presume that because I am an outgoing person, oh, she's totally secure and has no issues. But I understand exactly how he feels. But he needs to pull himself up and find that confidence and that strength and that belief in himself, because that's what people are reading. It isn't that he is an other. It's that when you present yourself in the world like, oh, you probably don't want me around, people will not want you around. If you go in there and you're like, I'm somebody. I mean, you can go back down the line. Look at James. Just he's the first person that came to mind. Short Asian James. Like, everybody loved him because he was just like, I'm in here. There's less Asian people on Big Brother than there are black people. Yeah. So, and he's little, not the most attractive guy, but he was cute. Everyone loved him because he went in there and he was like, this is who I am, and you're going to love me. And that's what Kevin needs to do. That's all I have.
It's so Kevin, Tyler would always say to me. So I was like, shoulders back, be confident. You deserve to be here.
Yes.
But when you're beaten down so much, he's been a have-not again and again. He's been nominated again and again. That wears you down.
It's too late now, but when he came in the house, it was just like, oh my gosh. Remember he said in one of his first ERs, I don't even feel like I should be here. No one else felt like that. He had every right to be there. I mean, yeah, he may not be who we consider an all-star, like a tough player, but he was invited back. He was there. He was allowed to be there. He deserved to be there.
I agree.
I completely agree. I think, well, first I have to just say this, one little side note of, speaking of the Reagan and Rachel fight, if anybody has the video, you have to tag Nicole, Jody, and I in it. Somebody like a year ago, they redid the fight with the Snapchat filters, and then they put the voice changer on it. It is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. So it's like fast, and Reagan's in the high voice and Rachel's even in the higher voice. And I think they had like the baby faces or like the weird, like it was hysterical. So if anyone knows that one, but yes, and 100%. My heart went out to Kevin tonight, hearing him say how he doesn't fit into any community. However, I completely agree with you, Jody, that he needed to go in there and demand respect from these people. Or, like, for me, I know as a gay person who was beat up his whole entire life going through school, the way that I learned to win those people over was like, well, then make them laugh. Like, you learn to adapt. And I know Kevin in the real world. He is so loving, so outgoing. He's runs an ad agency. He literally sells himself for a living.
Yeah.
What I honestly think happened with Kevin is, I think, like a lot of us, I should not even say this because I feel like I'm diagnosing Kevin. I'm just going to say, looking at Kevin, I feel like he's depressed. And I feel like he's trying to make himself be upbeat, but he's actually going through something and going through it in front of America, in front of these cameras. And I feel bad. Not that it's an excuse, but it seems more to me than just, oh, woe is me, Kevin. It seems like he cannot get out of it. Even when he put on drag with Nicole in the first week, which should have made him so happy, he was like, no, I don't want to do this because people are going to judge me and look at me.
Yep.
And blah, blah.
Yes,
He's very stuck with what people are going to think, which we all have some extent of that. But like you said, you really put it well. Like, when you go in and you ask permission, like metaphorically ask permission, will you like me? Mm-hmm. People don't like that.
Yes.
To go in and go, I'm likable. So want it.
See, I would argue, and I hear both of you are saying, because I would argue my insecurities hit me as well. And I went down that rabbit hole of like, oh, they don't like me. But look at somebody like Janelle. She walks into a room and commands it. Someone like Kaser walks into a room and commands it. Mm-hmm. They weren't with that group. So it was like, you're out. So I think it's just that side versus everybody else. So they were already like, ew, all of you are out. I don't care if you're confident or not. You're just out. And that's what made the not confident people spiral even worse.
Yeah. I think that's sad but true. You know?
Yeah. I'm sure Kevin walked in and was kind of like, and then once he realized, oh, this is weird, Cody doesn't know who Keisha is, but is already making an alliance with Memphis. Something seems odd here.
Yeah.
It's almost like we don't have a chance. I will also say one of the really cool thing of tonight's POV was, because there was no water and no anything, just the whole backyard was filled with inflatable pool toys. And I mean filled. Like, there must have been thousands of beach balls, floaties,
unicorns.
Whose job is that?
Oh my god! Ew! It's the air compressor.
You've been back there, right? That little side area where they build all that stuff. Oh, okay. There's a whole like work space just on the side of the backyard, and all these props and all. It's like Santa's workshop. Yeah. They're just in there making things happen. So
that was funny, Jody. I never knew that until last year when we had the battle back and Camp Comeback was leaving because, three of them were going home. So David, Ovi, and Kemi went to leave and they opened those doors and it looked like Home Depot. It was just like tools and equipment and and I was like, wow, I want to walk through that. Like, I thought it was just like right to the parking lot. I didn't know there was like this warehouse. It was really cool.
And to answer your question, Jody, no, despite the fact that I've covered Big Brother for 10 years, I've never been asked to go in the backyard. And then this one year, one of my bestest friends, Nicole, gets to be on, and I get to do the real press interviews. And then there's COVID.
Yeah, you this close to backyard interviews. I still don't know about finale.
This season should be called This Close.
Going to be on Zoom. Don't know.
That would stink on Zoom.
I know.
I think.
Could you imagine? and then my connection's gonna be shit, and everybody's gonna come through. It's gonna be, oh, Nicole's frozen. Who gives a crap?
Jeez.
Or better yet, if there starts getting to be problems, you can just be like,
Nicole, why didn't you trust Janella Kaser? What? Oh, sorry, my camera's not working.
sorry, I can't hear. Now, Jody, I can't believe that we are almost running out of time. But as you said, you are part of what Steve Moses, Big Brother 17 winner, that I do shows with on Tuesdays. You are a part of Armchair All-Stars, although Steve refuses to call it anything other than Jody and Friends.
I didn't even know anything about that. That's hilarious.
He literally, and I'm like, Steve, you're getting me in trouble. The show is called, no one can find the show, Steve, if it's not called Jody and Friends. He's like, I don't care. The other people don't exist on the show.
Oh, he's so sweet. He's a good-looking kid. I was like, wow. If I was single young. He came straight. I don't remember.
I don't know that. I never asked him.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah.
Tell him Jody wants to know.
Okay, I will tell. Oh, he might. Then, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, my husband would be very mad, and I'm very happily married. I really am. But yes, I am on Armchair All Stars.
Well,
Tuesdays and see it.
I have to say, and people know this because I'm actually in the shows, I literally love the show. It is rare that I have time in a day to watch a show. I love watching that show. Now, for those of you that don't know, it's Jody, Matt Hoffman, Sam Smith from last season, Rachel Swindler, and then they have a guest. They had Nicole, they had Ronnie, they had James Ryan.
A great mix because we were sort of thrown together, and I was like, happy to do it, but is this going to be a shit show? Like, what's going to happen? But I really like these people. I know Matt. I've sort of known him. I've met him before. It's been 100 years. I had never met Rachel, and she's fantastic. Honestly, I was like, what if she's just pretty? But she's fun and smart and outgoing. And then Sam, I want him to be my best friend forever. He's just so engaging and sweet and like a teddy bear, So it's a fun show, and I'm happy to be on it. I hope we can just keep going, even after is over. So
I hope that you guys do too. I also have to give a shout out because I get it from my end of Erin, who does a lot of the production in the background too of that show, because I think she keeps it, topics and things like that, which is so amazing. But anyway, none of that was really my point. I just wanted to give a shout out to that. And I want to talk about your podcast too, Jody. But here was my whole point.
Okay.
When I watched Nicole on the show with you guys I think it was 2 weeks ago, you said that you had a million questions for Nicole, and there was things that you wanted to know. I thought now is your chance, Jody. Is there anything that you want to ask Nicole?
Oh gosh.
No, I think not. There's nothing as far as the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad because I feel like people are just terrible to her on Twitter. And I told her when I didn't watch last season, it's the only season of Big Brother I haven't watched. I was just I run a company, so I was just busy, and I'm like, I need a break. But so I didn't know who she was. And when I saw her in this season, I'm like, who is this? And I was convinced I wasn't going to like her. And I totally fell in love with her. And I was like, oh, she's got such great instincts. There was a couple things that you said that I'm like, yes, Nicole. She was like, I'm trusting my instincts. And I'm like, awesome. And I was there. And then when she was upset and crying, I'm upset. And then when she got kicked off, I was like, oh, man. So mostly I just liked her. And I'm just like, maybe they'll let her come back, which obviously that's not happening. But I just feel like, she got the raw end of the deal. I know everybody always says that to me, and yes, I did. But Nicole, I really enjoyed you on the show, and I think you were smart, and you just got sort of screwed. So that's basically what I wanted to say.
Wow, I appreciate that a lot. Damn, I'm emotional.
Well, it's true.
Thank you.
I mean, Big Brother for me, it's different for everybody. And I think what gets lost, and maybe that's one of the reasons I didn't watch it last season, is because the reason I started watching it from the very get-go in the beginning was what it was. It was people from all walks of life, all ages and different races, different sizes, less attractive, more attractive, not attractive, whatever, thrown into a house. And what happens? And then it got whittled down to like this other thing. And so I miss what I liked, which was the sociological, psychological experiment. What do people do when they have nothing in common, but they have to work together? And that's gone when they click together and just kind of decide. And so for me, having somebody like Nicole, like that was interesting to me. And that's why I watch Big Brother. And so when these kind of people are gone, I'm like, man. So,
and like, that's why I love Big Brother. Like, I like new. I like experiences. Like this OTEV. I obviously love all things rainbows and unicorns, but when in your life are you able to say, a giant lizard gave me clues and I ran and found a shirt with, Keisha and Ian's name on? You know what I mean? Like, that means more to me. And then like building connections with people and, possibly being friends with them in the real world, like that means more. So I feel like the way this season kind of went for me, like, I don't care that I lost. Like, it's a game. I'm not, hurt about that. It's more so like, darn it, I didn't get to experience more comps. I didn't get to connect with these people on a different level. I didn't get to, like, that's the stuff that bothers me more.
Same. I mean, I never tasted slop, and I'm like, man, if I'd known I was going to get kicked out, I would have gone around. I mean, I ran all around the house because I was like a nut. I'm like, look at the ceiling. They never show the ceiling on the TV. And I was touching things and opening drawers and like, wow, this is so awesome. Like, I'm in this house. I used to dream about the Big Brother house, like literally fall asleep with my laptop watching the feeds and dream that I was there. So being there was so amazing. And then to be ushered out when I'm like, I didn't get to do this or this or this. I feel you.
But this is my problem, which obviously we all hear. Well, I guess, again, I shouldn't speak for everyone. I'll say I love CBS. I love Big Brother. But I think this is this is one of the faults that they do that could make the show better. With all due respect to David, who we do love, why is David there and not you, Jody? I know they're aware of your love of the game. And no offense to David, people that are fans of this game want to watch other fans that just said the words that came out of your mouth. You wanted to see the ceiling and touch the thing and taste the slot. David didn't know about any of that. And okay, so we know if they were trying to fill a quota or to appear more a different way this season, that I hope they will continue going forward. But still, like, I still say, why not Jody instead of, like, I don't get it. It's so frustrating.
I think it's an age thing because first I thought it was race. And now I think it's age because they've just dropped in the tokens and they're like, okay, see, CBS, we're good now. But it becomes an age thing because, when I was there, I was like the grandma. And, I'm like, how am I a grandma? And so, I mean.
I can see it happening.
Yeah. If they had called, I would have gone. It would have been perfect summer to go, but they don't. And I have no idea why. I mean, I had different producers, like the low scale producers, like reach out during the what do you call it? The finale parties and say, we wanted you to stay. We wanted you to come back. You got screwed. And they just refuse. I mean, I don't know. So yeah. It is what it is.
I hope to see you back, Jody. I have faith. I'm going to pray on it. I have faith it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'll be in the house with you.
That would be fun. But
pre-gaming. I love you, Jody.
Well, I know we're almost out of time, right? Like, can I talk about my podcast real quick?
Well,
absolutely.
100% you can. I just wanted to say, shout out to Cameron who asked that question of Jody, would you ever play the game again if you were asked? But yes, so now, Jody, you just started up a podcast.
Yes. So I did, after the Big Brother show, I did an online radio show called Jody's Box of Reality. And it was all about reality TV and like life and all of that. And this time I really wanted to do something that was about sharing stories and talk about uncomfortable things and emotions that I share about myself and try to connect with people through a podcast. It's not a bunch of interviews, even though I will eventually do some interviews, but I like to talk about uncomfortable stuff. I want to hear what people are thinking about, like, true emotions instead of everything's great, everything's fine. Like, look, this sucks being in a pandemic. Sometimes people are depressed. Sometimes they have anxiety. Sometimes they have problems with food. Sometimes they're alcoholics. Whatever it is, that's what I want to talk about. Real life stuff. And so it's called Big Time Small Talk because I hate small talk. And I wanted to sort of do a play on words. So it's like diving deep into the surface, below the surface. So check it out. Big Time Small Talk. Apple iTunes, whatever, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor, it's everywhere. Big Time Small Talk.
We are going to put the link below it, below this post on our website, where actually a lot of people have asked us to build a page on our website of these things that we refer people to. So we are going to do that as well, but we will put specifically now where you guys are watching this back in the future, we will have the link to Jody's podcast under this video. And Jody, I don't think that you realized how much you changed my life.
What? No, tell me.
I mean, I don't even know that I told Nicole this.
I don't think you have.
So, aside from just loving you on the show and knowing that you're a Big Brother fan and all of these things, I don't know if you remembered that you asked me to do your podcast back when you were doing the original one. And I never forgot that. It was like I was always this person that just covered reality TV and did it on Super Pass, and I was always with a Nicole or a Kevin or with the reality people, and nobody ever seemed to care about me, Nicole. And and I just remember Jody called and was like, I want you to do my podcast and come and tell people what we're doing. And I'm like, what? Jody from Big Brother wants me?
You were everywhere. I mean, it was like you're a known commodity, in my opinion. So
Still am 10 years later.
Yeah. Others have come and gone.
But
Where's
yeah.
Chelsea today? She used to do that. Remember Chelsea?
Oh, I remember. Not going to answer that.
Like,
what were you going to say, Nicole?
If I could, one other thing. The show is also, it's going to be fun as well.
Yes.
But if you just take a listen, click subscribe. This isn't just, everybody and his brother has a podcast.
Yep.
But I have been talking my whole life. I'm actually going to play, I used to make talk shows when I was little, and I'm going to play some recordings that I saved that are on cassette tape. I would make the talk show. I would have sound effects because I realized if you crumple up a piece of paper, it sounds like applause. And I would make sound effects, and then I would do commercials for the show, and then I would sing and do the whole thing. So this is my passion. So I really hope people will give it a shot and listen and tell one person to listen to. So there you go. That's my pitch.
Okay.
I love that, Jody.
Three things really quickly. Number one, Jody, I used to do the same exact thing when I was little. But I used to do it as video. Like, I had a camcorder that my dad got me from like the Salvation Army, and my friend and I used to literally do a news show and like do the commercials, the different segments. So there's that, number one. Number two, Nicole, I think you're out and Jody's in. Number three.
No, I love Nicole. No way.
No, but number three, and this really is the most important, and I know it's easy for Nicole and I think people think it is easy for Nicole and I. It is not. It is not easy for Jody. It's not easy for anyone that does podcast and stuff nowadays, because we are up against, like you said, television networks. Everyone now thinks it's cool to put out podcasts, and they have marketing teams behind them, and they can dump thousands of dollars every week into it. it means so much for you guys to like Jody's podcast, subscribe to it, leave a 5-star rating, a nice review. It is so
everybody.
helpful. And tell people.
Tell people in your Facebook groups. Tell people at work. Tell your mailman. Just tell people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell someone. I always say if you
like I'm doing this. I've told myself I'm doing it for 4 years or 200 episodes, whichever is longer. Because I'm very passionate about this, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going.
Love
so
that.
Being able to connect with you guys is a great place to start.
Can I just say, when I was younger, I would spy on family members and take notes in my spy notebook. I locked my parents down the basement. I was convinced I was Harry Potter and had a spell book. So I didn't do journalistic things, but
that's hilarious.
And I have to say, I also had a 5-year plan. Here we are 10 years later. However, I was on Big Brother All-Stars intro.
You are.
So there you go. That is as close I ever got to my favorite show ever, and I'll take it.
So far, anyway. So far, never know.
I agree.
I know. I like my friends and my family and the community I built, so I will never play that game. We love you so much, Jody. Nicole,
Yes, Jody.
Final thoughts.
Oh my gosh, final thoughts.
Sorry, me or her?
Oh no, we'll let Nicole and then
first,
we'll give it to you.
No, Nicole, you go first. This is your show. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I think I'm frozen. Okay,
Nope.
There I am. Okay, my final thoughts. I had said this. I think I said it during Armchair All Stars, but maybe I said it after the fact. Jody, obviously you went out very early on your season, but you are one of the most insightful alums in regards, like when you talk about the seasons, like you say things and I'm just like, oh, that's a very valid point. I hadn't thought of that. So, and I was actually going to ask you if like you were like a speech major or anything, because I can see you doing a podcast and doing this kind of stuff because you are so insightful and so articulate. And like I said, you come up with things that I'm just like, wow. So like, I don't know. I just hope everybody like does check out your podcast and does follow you because you're tremendous.
Thank you so much. That's so nice. That like warms my heart. I did competitive speech in high school and college, and I do motivational speaking here. And that's like my passion. I just feel like there's so many people that are sort of forgotten about, and I've felt that way, and I don't like it. And so I want to connect with people and connect other people. And so when I meet people that I could just feel they're genuine, like I knew that you were genuine, Nicole. And I obviously knew you were genuine way back 10 years ago or whatever, 8 years ago, Eric. And same with Sam. Like I just knew. And I think we need to trust our instincts. And so for me, that's what it's about, is really connecting with people, especially now. I mean, we're locked out and cut off and shut off, and you can't do this and you can't do that. Connection is everything.
It is.
Absolutely.
That's what I try to do.
Which is why, as fun as it was to talk about this episode of Big Brother, and I think the fact that it's been 20 minutes from when I was like, well, we should start wrapping up, shows how much we love to talk to each other, which is why, Jody, we need you to come on the Hello Friends podcast, where then we can talk about whatever we want. We can go off on all the tangents
and
talk
makes
about
me uncomfortable, Jody. So you'll have a ball.
Yes, and I like to make Nicole uncomfortable. So we have to have you come back on that. But yes, is there any final thoughts you have, Jody? What do you want to say to your fans, new and old, listening to you right now?
Thank you for giving the show a chance. If you do, please follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to like just grow that so I can reach more people. And it's really hard when you're like the first person out. People are like, hell, so Jodi, as you see my name here on Instagram, it's just my name, Jodi Rollins. I hope you listen to the podcast, and I respond to every single person who reaches out. So if you have questions or comments, I will respond. If you're nasty and mean, I'll just move on. So that's my story.
Ditto to that. Now, Nicole and I are not going to be live after tomorrow night's Big Brother episode because it's going to be so late. I have a feeling we will be doing a watch party exclusively in the TV Co app. And then The following day, Bobby Moynihan apparently had such a fun time. He was like, I want to come back and talk about the triple eviction. So we will be doing that after the next day after the triple eviction. So follow our social medias for the exact time of that show. And we will see you guys all then.
Yes. Goodbye, friends.
Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you guys on the next show. Bye, everybody. Bye, guys.